Yo, it's about that time to bring forth the rhythm and the rhyme. I'm gonna get mine, so get yours. I wanna see sweat coming out your pores. Hello, and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies. The podcast where Matt and Todd go see a movie at our local Regal cinema, and then we hang out in the parking lot afterwards in Matt's Honda Pilot. There it is. And we talk about the movie. Did we like it? Did we not like it? Can we endorse it for you to see in the theaters? Should you wait for streaming? Are we mad that we saw this? Are we happy we saw this? You know, we try to answer all that good stuff and answer all your burning questions so you can make an educated decision. I am Todd Domer.
And I'm Matt Malloy, and welcome to another episode. And I think I didn't think that I would ever have an intro song from Parappa the Rapper. So thank you for that, Todd.
Oh, I believe that's Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, which is Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, okay.
That's where my connection came from.
Gotcha.
But I appreciate the Parappa the Rapper.
Oh,
reference.
See, I thought I was going a different way with it. Well, maybe Parappa the Rapper had nothing to do with it. But the tie-in is, that's a video game, and this movie that we saw is about a video game, and it has Marky Mark in it,
Yeah.
and it has Spider-Man in it,
Yeah.
and it's called Uncharted.
Yeah.
It's based on the video game called Uncharted. Which
And
follows,
its sequels.
And its sequels, yes. Which follows the fortunes of Nathan Drake as the main protagonist, played by Tom Holland. Mm-hmm. So there's three people in this who are famous, Mark Wahlberg being one of them, Tom Holland being another one, and Antonio Banderas is in it as a villain. So those are all the famous people. There are a couple of the people that we were like, ooh, do we know her? Ooh, do we know that one? No, we don't. And we didn't.
We were wrong on all accounts.
Yes. There's two other characters who look very familiar to us, apparently, but are not famous.
Yeah.
That would be Sophia Ali and...
The other one that I can't remember the name at all.
We call her Girl with Curved Knife because she has a
Yes.
curved knife in this movie.
Yeah.
So, what is this movie about? Well, first we should say it's based on this video game series called Uncharted.
Have you played any of the Uncharted games?
I have played through Uncharted 3.
Oh, okay.
Just Uncharted 3. I have not played Uncharted 1 or 2.
I see.
I did not notice any elements of Uncharted 3 in this one.
Well, you gotta
Other
come
than
back
the
for
characters.
The sequels,
Right, of course. But so the video games, you play this character called Nathan Drake, and he's kind of like a thief / treasure hunter type character, and he often connects with these other helper / double crosser characters, who are two of them are in this, Chloe and Sully, who he partners up with and is double crossed by both of them in this movie at different times. And this movie is no different. The movie is, I haven't played the first Uncharted video game, but if you told me that this movie was the exact plot of that video game, I would say, I believe you. Because it really seemed like a video game.
Yeah. I haven't played any of the games, so I would...
Well, these games really focus on like a lot of these kind of, as we saw in the movie, these big dramatic shots of like cinematic shots where you have to navigate the environment. For example, climbing up cargo things in midair, strung, that type of things. So yeah, the movie was a lot like that. This particular movie, we get kind of an origin story of Nathan Drake, and we find out, he was separated from his brother, and his brother's been sending him these postcards, and he does a little thieving on the side is a bartender, and then this guy Sully comes into his life and offers him an opportunity to get in on the ground floor of a heist, and what they are stealing is a key, and there's another key, and the keys go together, and they're trying to find this treasure from Magellan's voyage around the world. And so you get some Indiana Jones style plane flying over map with the red line, which is always nice. Always like that. And there's plenty.
I want to know the direct route they took. I want the dots connected on this map for me to follow it.
Yes. So they kind of travel, they meet up with this other character, Chloe, and she has one of the keys, and they have stolen the other key, and they use the keys to kind of figure out the next part of their journey, where they find a map, and then they follow the map, and then the map has clues, and they go to the right place or they go to the wrong place, and then there's clues from Nathan Drake's brother's postcards that he's sent over the years, and he figures that out and figures out really where the treasure is, and where these boats are, and all this stuff. And then there's plenty more double crossing, and I will mention that there's helicopters that carry 1,000-year-old boats out from a cave.
Yes.
Because I thought that was actually pretty cool. So that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say about this movie. That's the plot. They look for the treasure. They find the treasure. They fight about the treasure. There's plenty of double crosses and villains and
twisty turns.
Yeah. So Todd, share with me your thoughts on this movie version of a video game story.
I will share my thoughts. I do think it's important for me to state at the beginning of this that I've never played any of the games. Again, I know I said it earlier, but I want to throw that out there. So stuff that probably they tried really hard to put into the movie as like a nod to the games was all lost on me. So although I could kind of piece it together, like there's the part where they're like on the plane sneaking around cargo and they have to wait until people pass them by and stuff like that. I was like, well, that looks like it's straight out of the game, even though I've never played it.
Right.
So I could mark a couple of different things, and I was like, okay. So I got to start by saying this movie's better than I thought it was going to be, but that's because I thought it was going to be pure trash. So I'm happy to report that it's not pure trash. I don't know if that's going to make it land in the area that I liked it, though. There's a couple of, right off the bat, there's a couple of things that I already had a hard time with, which is we see this flashback of a young Nathan Drake and his brother Sam?
Sam, yes.
And the young Nathan Drake looks like 15, 16, and then
I think he was 10.
Well, that's what I was like. So at first I was like, man, he looks like 15, 16. Yeah. And then they were like, he's 10. Yeah. And I was like, that's not how that works. That's just a really bad casting choice, in my opinion, of making it was awkward. It started the whole movie to me on an awkward foot. And then we flash forward to 15 years later. So he's 25. We got Tom Holland, which I guess, Tom Holland kind of fits that range, but I had a hard time with, Tom Holland played Peter Parker, Spider-Man, in Uncharted. It just was it all felt the same as a Spider-Man movie of, look at this parkour, and then here's a snide remark, because I'm still in Peter Parker mode, and then here's some more climbing, parkour, look at what I can do, and then here's another kind of quippy kind of thing. I think, I guess it's just my opinion, but I feel like I just feel like Tom Holland kind of phoned this one in. Like, oh, okay, this is what I'm known for at this point because I'm Spider-Man. I'm just going to redo all the stuff that I've already done. And that was super distracting to me. Like again, I've never played the games, so maybe that's how Nathan Drake is. But watching the, like, trailers for the games and stuff like that's not the character that I felt came through the trailer. You can talk more about that, though, since you have played a game. But it just was like, it was very, I don't know, besides like some big, ships in the sky kind of stuff and people falling out of planes, it felt very formulaic. It was like chase, parkour, quip, back to chase, parkour, quip. Like, it just kind of like, you went down the list of checking stuff off and then it just reset itself. And it always ended in someone double-crossing someone. And then restart the list. And then it ends in someone double-crossing someone in the next chapter. And I don't know. I just didn't enjoy that. Like, everything as far as, like, CG and stuff like that was fine. Like, it was pretty interesting to see, like, very old 500-year ships, like, in the air being carried by helicopters. But then almost any time stuff was happening on the ships, I was like, man, these ships really are incredibly well built for 500 years. Like, you are really hanging together very strongly. And so, like, but I guess outside, so I actually think the two main women in this movie did incredibly well acting wise, and then I felt Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg were just Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg, like in almost every scene. Like, it didn't, like, I just don't feel like they tried, honestly. So, Tom Holland tried in the physical area. He's doing all these stunts and stuff like that, and that's great. But it just felt like these two guys were just playing these two guys, like, who they play in almost every movie that I've seen of them. So, you got elements of, like you said, Indiana Jones. You got elements of National Treasure. Like, you got these movies, and I feel like at times they kind of did a homage to those movies too that came before them. But I would say that for me personally, like, what made it hard for me to get into this movie versus those other movies that I mentioned is that at the end of the day, everyone in this movie who you're supposed to somewhat be rooting for is some form of a thief, backstabber type person. Like, so they're already kind of bad guys in my opinion. So you're just like, then you're just leveling up. Okay, well, this guy's a bad guy, but this guy kills people, so he's more of a bad guy. Mm-hmm. Like, this guy only steals a little bit. He's fine. Like, he's not a bad guy. I just, like, to me, like, what made National Treasure and Indiana Jones and this stuff for me memorable was the fact that these are guys who are just doing good for the sake of good. Like, and that, these things need to be in museums because it's important. Like, it's history, like all this kind of stuff. That's more so Indiana Jones, but yeah, I just, like, it's not bad, but I couldn't connect with it. Like, I don't really know what else to say. I couldn't connect with it. Tom Holland playing Spider-Man the whole movie was very distracting to me. There's two after the credit scenes that really kind of set up a future for these movies. So I think we're going to see a future for these movies. But I would say in general, like many other movies before this that are from a video game, I don't think we have had a very good video game movie adaptation. That's not to say this movie sucked, but I wouldn't put it in the very good category or anything like that. So, should you see this in theaters? The benefit of seeing this in theaters is the big, like you were talking about, the big shots, like, play helicopters carrying ships and people falling out of planes. Like, those shots I think will be lost a little bit if you stream this movie at home. So if you're a fan of Uncharted and or if you're a fan of these kind of like treasure hunting action movies and you want to get the full effect of the movie, then you probably should see this in theaters, because those big sprawling shots are specifically designed for theaters. Like, it's just not going to transfer too well to home. So yeah, but if you're like me and you've never played Uncharted, you have a loose understanding of the game, and you kind of just don't really care, then I would say save it. Watch this when it streams. I don't know. It's hard to put into words. I just didn't connect with this movie. So, it's gonna impact my rating, but I am gonna try to give credit where credit's due, and the good stuff that they did. So that's my end rant. Matt,
ended.
Mr. I've played Uncharted 3.
Oh, that's what we're going to call me from now on in this podcast. Mr. I've played Uncharted 3. Well, so I have different feelings about this movie. I kind of look at it two ways. I look at it from like a pure movie standpoint, which I feel like what you just did, Todd, which is good. You didn't have the other part that I'm going to talk about, which is this is an adaptation of a video game. And so for that, I'm going to give you a little bit more, I'm going to give the movie a little bit more credit, because generally coming into this movie and coming into any adaptation of a video game, my expectations are pretty low.
Sure.
Like you, I thought this movie was going to be pure trash. However, I don't think it was. Mm-hmm. And having played Uncharted, what I will say is that I think they did a fair adaptation of what an Uncharted game is like. You mentioned the parkour. That's like a huge part of Uncharted games.
Yeah.
Is like climbing and, scrambling over things and chase scenes, definitely part of it. And just kind of making your way through environments. Huge part of Uncharted games. So you saw Spider-Man, I saw Nathan Drake. I think they're very actually similar acted between those two characters, obviously played by the same person. So there's going to be crossover there. But I think it's fair to say that Nathan Drake is a parkour master thief who has quips that he throws out, just like Spider-Man is a somewhat parkour master, being Spider-Man, who throws quips out there as well. So I wasn't as distracted about that as you probably were, Todd, but I think overall I did enjoy myself, which I wasn't expecting to. I was engaged, which I wasn't really expecting to be. I thought I was going to be sighing a lot during this movie, Todd, and I didn't sigh.
You didn't, but I did discover what my version of sighing is through this movie.
Which is?
I rub my head.
Oh, okay.
I do a little, like front to back and then back to front.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll keep an eye out for the head rub from now on, so I can get a sense for how you're feeling. But I would say I would agree with you that the two main women in this movie, actually, they could be the only women in this movie. I don't remember any other women.
No, like no, like main character.
Right.
Yeah.
Did I thought perform better from an acting perspective than Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg did.
Yeah.
I also agree that it really did seem like they were playing Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg.
Right.
Although I know that Tom Holland has a British accent in normal life.
Kudos to you, Tom, for covering up your British accent.
Yes.
Unkudos to you, Mark Wahlberg, for not being able to cover up your Boston accent.
We did get,
which maybe this guy's from Boston. I don't know, but
yeah.
I just feel like he doesn't even try anymore.
Yeah. But I would say overall, I thought the movie's decent. I liked the big cinematic pieces, and stunts good, CGI good. I even thought that the story was decent. Not the greatest ever, and if it was following, I kind of wish I knew what the plot of Uncharted 1, the video game, was.
Yeah.
Because if they followed it like almost letter by letter, I would give more credit for that.
Sure. Yeah.
If they went their own way, that's fine. It was a fine story either way. And I would say, if you find yourself interested in this kind of movie, yes, go ahead and see it in theaters. Why not? There's nothing else. There's nothing else out that you should see right now, anyway.
Yeah,
well,
I think you should see the Batman, but Matt doesn't really follow it.
Yeah, you can see the Batman too. It's fine. You can see both.
There you go. If you got no lives like we do, you can go see both.
I think this week at the movie there were actually 0 movies that were released this week.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, because our only real options were this or Dog, and I know Dog's been out for 3 or 4 weeks at this point. Yes. Sorry, Channing.
Yeah.
Channing
Tatum and a dog. Well,
I'm not apologizing to the dog.
Right.
Okay. Just want to make that clear.
Right. You're apologizing to Channing Tatum.
There you go.
There is a dog in the movie called Dog.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. I liked it more than I thought, and I enjoyed myself. So
nice.
Yeah.
I was reminded of something that I can't say that it bothered me too much. It just bothered me from a movie standpoint. Is there's a person in this movie who gets their throat slit, and there's no blood.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's probably a choice to keep it PG-13 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But choose something else then. Choose a different way for that person to die. It just, I know, people probably are listening to this and go come on, Todd, seriously? And I'm I get it. I get that about myself. I understand, all right? But I got to be true to myself when I talk about these movies. And gosh darn it, when that guy or girl's throat was slit.
Way to not spoil it.
Yeah.
Good job.
There it is.
Could be any gender.
I was just man, there is no blood here. No blood at all. Choose a different way for that person to die.
Okay.
So, that's me.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for bringing that additional detail there. It's good.
All right. So, how many ring on a rope necklaces would you give this movie?
Ring on a rope. Well, we all know who have played an Uncharted game that Nathan Drake always wears a ring on a rope.
Ring on a rope, yeah. And obviously, I guess 5 being the best, because then you have multiple ones, and if you lose one, that's okay, because you got 5. But if you got 0, who are you? You know, what are you doing with your life if you don't have a ring on a rope necklace?
Yeah, you're not Nathan Drake, that's
not
for
at
sure.
all. So,
one thing that I will mention before I get to my rating that I thought was kind of fun was there's one part where 2 of the characters come up out of the water and they see this guy on the beach and they start talking to him.
My guess was that was the guy who voices.
I think it's the guy. I think the guy that they did the CGI with him as well as voiced Nathan Drake in the video games.
Oh, so he, you're saying in the video games, they motion capture this guy.
I think so.
And he's the voice.
I think so.
Okay. I figured, I was this. I figured it because I was this. That's the only way the scene makes sense.
Right. Right. At least we had the voice, and if it wasn't, if it's not motion capture as well, I think it is. But he looked like him, so that was kind of a little bonus tidbit from me.
Nice.
As far as rings on a rope out of 5, I'm gonna give this movie 2.7.
Okay.
Rings on a rope out of 5. I'm gonna say it was much better than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
And I'll say it was a little bit better than average movie. I am not sad that I watched it. I think it's an enjoyable movie if you like a nice action thriller movie. So that's where I'm going to end up. 2.7 Rings on a Rope.
Nice. Before I give my rating, since it's me, I'm going to share another point in the movie where I got hung up on that I'm sure no one else in the world got hung up on.
Yes.
There's a scene where one of the women in this movie steals something out of the bag of Tom Holland. And the scene bothered me because at no point in the scene did they show them like at all close enough for her to even reach out her arm and be that close to him.
Right.
And I was like, I get it, it could have happened off camera, but for me to believe these people are so good at pickpocketing and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, that scene just doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, how did you get through the bag? How'd you do any of that? If your arms aren't long enough to reach the physical person. That's just me.
Yeah.
So, back to my rating. So I gotta give it some up numbers for the women actresses in this movie. I thought they were fantastic. I thought they both did a good job. And the stuff that I said that's a negative, combining with the stuff that I thought was a positive, I'm going to land on a 2.0. I think, like, if I could stress this, that rating is probably one of the most Todd personal ratings I've ever given a movie. Like, almost that I'm like, this stuff bothered me so much, but I can't justify why it bothered me so much. Like, I want to stress that it's my own hang-ups that are keeping me from really connecting with this movie. So that's just me. But I wanted to give credits where credits due, and I think a 2 is a nice landing spot for that.
Fair enough. Did it bother you that the two big henchmen were investigating these old boats and like searching, and then shortly after that they were flying helicopters and picking up the boats?
These henchmen who have been shown to do nothing but walk around and point guns somehow both knew how to fly helicopters.
Right.
And they somehow made it to the helicopters.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was definitely like, oh, we got to get from point A to point B. Do you think anyone's going to notice? No.
Nah.
Let's just do it.
Can we get some other actors? Nah, we'll use these guys.
Yeah.
All right. Enough harping on details about this movie. We're going to wrap it up for this episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies.
Rappity rap.
We reviewed Uncharted, and we gave it an average rating of 2.35 rings on a rope that you put around your neck out of 5, which isn't the greatest score ever. It's a little below average for our aggregate average rating score thing. Yeah. But, you might like this movie if you fall into certain categories.
I do think the groundwork is laid that as they continue with these movies, which I assume they're going to do, unless this movie just flat out bombed. I have no idea. I haven't looked at it. I feel like the groundwork is there that if they just don't phone in the sequel, if they can build instead of just being like, well, this is what we did, let's just do it again and grab some money. If they can build on what they did here, I do think the future is kind of bright.
Okay. Well, great forecasting from you, Todd. The future of the Uncharted franchise. Thank you, listeners, for listening to our podcast. And please keep downloading it. Please keep listening to it. Subscribe. And sorry, there's some shenanigans going on in the parking lot here today.
There always is.
I don't know what's
something going on. Someone's trying to get back into the theater, but it's past the point where no movies are starting, so they lock the doors.
Oh.
I've been in this situation before.
Yeah.
Because one night after we got done recording, I really had to use the bathroom, and I didn't think I was going to make it home. So I stood outside and banged on the door until someone let me in.
Nice.
But I don't know what's going on with these people. They're trying to signal someone.
They're trying to signal, and there's somebody I can see behind the counter Who's ignoring?
Actively ignoring
Yeah.
it. There's someone about to come out, I think. This must be a gripping podcast for people to be listening to right now. And you know what? Cliffhanger. We're not going to tell you what happens.
We may update you on the next episode.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky. But thank you, listeners, and we'll see you next time.
Da 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 da
Da da
da da da.
da da da.